Hi everyone, this video gonna be a DemoLock PvP guide where I gonna include some basic stuff from talent, grips, gear to some advanced one. For example, few spells, how to use it, your rotation, how to burst and many more. So let's start with the talents. Although there are a lot of talent variations, but first I'm gonna show you what I'm using for arena. Then I'm gonna show you a few more talent variations too. Alright, this is my arena talent. As you can see, I'm using Improve Healthstone instead of the Fast Synergy one. And the reason why I'm doing that, since you're not getting the same value as you would get as affliction or destruction. Since as affliction you have constant dot pressure, so you constantly heal your pet by a lot. Even with DemoLock, most of the time you do high burst damage as your rotation. But as Demo, you don't have that much dot pressure, since you don't have dot protection like UA or VT has, and your rotation isn't as bursty as the DemoLock one. So let's skip the basic talent ones and let's talk about the more important ones like Molten Core. In Arena, you should play with Molten Core because it's reduce the cast time and increase the damage for your Instranate, and also increase damage and critical strike with your Soul Fire. And this talent you can combo with this one. If you cast a Shadow Ball, Instinct or Soul Fire target that is at or below 35% health, you're gonna get a reduced cast time Soul Fire, and with these two, your burst's gonna be insanely high. The only problem with this talent is that this is a magic buff, and magic buff can be purged down. But there will be a lot of situations when they won't purge this down, they have no time, they have no purge, you outrange it, and so on. You have the demonic empowerment, this is a really useful talent as well. I'm gonna talk about a later section why it's really good. And some mandatory talent like demonic tactic and improved demonic tactic. You must have this talent. Without this, you can maintain the demonic pact, which gonna increase your spell damage, and you really need this one. You need at least 20% extra critical strike for your demon. One of the most important talent for demo in arena is called Nemesis. It's gonna reduce your metamorphosis cooldown, which is your main win condition in arena. You don't need to play with Felgardva, you can put extra talent point for Demonic Pact or for Ruin. I gotta talk about later section why. Bane is a must-have talent. It gonna reduce the cast time for everything what you're gonna cast. There are some talent variation here. You can play with Molten Skin, I recommend playing with this one. It's gonna reduce all damage taken by 6%, this is really good. But you can put the 2 extra talent points for Aftermath for bigger immolate. But you can play with Improved Shadow Ball 5/5 instead of Molten Skin and Aftermath. It's up to you. Shadow Burn is a must talent for burst, Ruin is really good, and since you don't really need range for arena, you should play with intensity. There are some other talent variations, like back in days people used to play with Imp 1, this is the Imp talent. You need to play with Improve Imp, you need to talent the Demonic Power, probably you want Ruin 5/5, and you need to play with the Glyphs of Imp. As you can see, you don't need a Demonic Tactic one, since the Demonic Empowerment gonna provide you the extra 20% critical chance for your Imp. Also, since Imp is really squishy, you should consider playing the Demonic Resilience. You can play with the Succubus one, you need the Improved Succubus and of course the Glyphs of Succubus. This is mainly for duel, but you can do like you can play for fun also, or you can try out the Felguard one. You need the Demonic Brutality and the Glyphs of Felguard. I don't recommend these talents. I'm gonna show you if you want to try it for fun. You can, but I recommend using my one, obviously. You can play with Affliction one also, I don't, since you need to cast, like I said, I don't really recommend using this one as well, but for duels, it's really important. Or maybe you find out it's hard to actually cast as DemoLock right now on your level, you can freely try it out. The most important here, the empowered corruption. Do not play without this if you wanna try out the affliction one. I'm gonna show this to you. This is mainly a talent against mages right now, and what I was using for duels, and I was even using the Glyphs of Fell Hunter. So let's talk about Glyphs. There are two really important Glyphs and one changeable. The important ones are gonna be the Glyphs of Metamorphosis. This is your most important spell. I'm gonna talk about a lot in a burst section. And Glyphs of Shadow Flame you can apply slow on multiple targets. So I think the third gift should be the Glyphs of Corruption. If you put Corruption targets, you will get an instant Shadow Ball proc, similar to a Molten Core, which gonna help a lot with your burst, with your overall damage. But of course you can use Glyphs of Souling, Quick Decay, it's all about your preference. Minor glyphs are not really important, so I'm not gonna talk about, you can use whatever you want. So let's talk about gear. You need at least 4% hit rating. You can play more against some classes like Red or Rose, or some races like Night Elf and Blood Elf, but at least 4% is mandatory. You need approximately 130 spell penetration. You can play less or more, depends on enemy resistance. If you wanna increase, you can play with wand, or you can play with the offhand, which has spell penetration, or you can play less if you just play with, like, for example, haste wand. After that, you need approximately 1.3k resilience. You need to be a tanky. Do not play with less than 1.2k, that's not really good. You can play obviously more. As for gems, in red socket you should use spell power resilience. In yellow socket you should use big resilience gems, and in blue you can use some kind of spell penetration till you get the cap. You can use the big one, you can use the hit rating one, the spell power, the haste one as well. And of course, as your meta gem, you can play whatever you want. I recommend using this one because it gives you spell power and it gives you stun duration, and since Metamorphosis also give you 50% stun reduction, you can scale it up even higher, which is really good. So main start's gonna be like after hit cast spell penetration, you get approximately 1.3k resilience, gonna be spell power and haste. I'm gonna show my gear one by one. You can freely pause anytime. As you're gonna see, when you can, you will use Redful and the haste one. Only PV what you're gonna use is gonna be rings and trinkets, and maybe the weapon if you want. For rings you need hit plus haste rings. Of course this ring gonna give you more spell power proc, which is always really good and nice. For trinkets, I mainly recommend using Fluent CTS, but you can play with DFO also. The only problem with DFO is it's a stack trinket, so it stacks your spell power and you don't get the full amount of spell power what, for example, Fluent CTS provides you. For profession, I highly recommend using engineering because of the haste buff. For second profession, you can use tailoring to get the big spell power buff for burst, but of course you can use with blacksmith, you can use jewel crafting for bigger resilience to be more tankier. Alright, for macros, I'm using some arena 1, 2, 3 macros and focus macros for basically everything. You don't need to do this, I'm just a little bit tryhard with this one. You can use something like Arena Pet 1, 2, 3 Banish, of course. You can use Mouse over Wand. I think the most important macro is probably the Mouse over Pet attack, because you can hit down Tremor totem, so anything, or you can position your pet how you want with this one. Maybe Quality of Life, This one you don't need to right click from back the spellstone, you can just instantly apply with this macro. And I think the most important, maybe what you should actually use, is a dual magic. Probably you're already using, but you need a party 1 and party 2 dual magic. Anything else you can use, have pet self dispel or thing, but for beginner level you don't need to worry about all this one. So let's talk about pets. As for DemoLock, there are 5 different pets, but mainly I gotta talk about Summon Felguard, Felhunter and Imp. You don't really gonna use Succubus unless it's a duel situation, and you don't really gonna use Voidwalker as well, unless if you're in arena, you have nothing, your hero is in CC, and you wanna survive and you have nothing else to press. You can Federation Voidwalker and use Sacrifice. It gives you absorb shield. I don't know how much it's exactly, approximately 5k. Of course you can boost this one with this talent, but it usually doesn't work. So 3 different pets. Let's start with Imp. As you could see in the talent variations, people used to play with Imp. Imp has really high damage against melees, and who has more resilience and resistance like mages, druids. Imp doesn't really do as much damage. Opposite Felguard, obviously at Felguard you're gonna have really high damage against lower armor like mages, like I said, but against higher armor like Warrior, DK, Paladin, Felguard won't really do as much damage. But outside the damage of Imp, it doesn't really provide anything for you. It doesn't have any CC, doesn't have anything like CS, stun, like Devour. So I don't really recommend using Imp. And also if the enemy starts LOSing, playing around the LOS with your Imp, you need to cast Fireball, and it doesn't gonna happen. You don't get the Demon Impact talent because of it, so it's bad, I think. With Felguard, it has some potential because it has a really good CC, which is a 3-second cooldown intercept. There are some situations where it's really good against TSG. If you have this skill and you don't have Paladin, you can force a trinket with this one, or you can just regularly stun into fear a healer or somebody, which is really good. It's undispellable stun, but it's a 30-second cooldown instead of the Felhunter CS. It's 24-second cooldown, both with 3-second, and it's also the Demonic Charge, the Hodge, and I'm gonna talk about in the burst section why it's really important. And one more problem with Felguard as well is the range of the intercept, because it's 25 yard isn't that much, but also the big problem is the 8 yard inner range, because if the target is too close, you cannot stun it, and you can waste seconds to reposition your pet, and it's also really bad. But it has some potential. You can play around, you can try it out, but I think the really good and broken pet is the Felhunter, and not just you have spell luck, so you can CS everything, and you can just, or you don't CS anything, but you have a CS on, so you don't need to fake, the casters need to fake a lot, but also the Devour magic. This spell is really broken. And why? Because you can either dispel from your teammates, you can dispel yourself or your pet, and also you can purge something every 8 seconds. It's just really broken. You should use this one, I think. This section gonna be a bit more advanced level. And why is that? Because I'm gonna talk about a really important spell called Demonic Empowerment. I already mentioned this before when we were talking about the Imp talent variation, because this spell provides the Imp extra 20% critical chance, so you didn't need to play a talent, the Demonic Tactics 1. But why it's advanced level? There are different pets, different usage. For example, Warlock, it's gonna increase the health, but it doesn't really matter. For Succubus, like I said, you won't really use it. For Felguard, it's really good if you're gonna use Felguard. it's gonna increase the attack speed, it's gonna break and get immune for every snare, stun and movement impairing effect, so it's really good. But the most important one is the Fire Hunter one, because it dispels all magical effect from the Fire Hunter. Why is it advanced level? Why is it really good? Because let's say your pet gets Turn Evil, gets Nova behind LOS for example, you can just freely escape your pet. But mainly, when you start gaining raid, you start going higher and higher level, people start being better and better by, for example, by faking spells. So you don't need to actually take educational guess when you wanna CS, not every time at least. You can just put your pet on healer, and when, for example, disc gonna feed your pet, you can just press the demon empowerment, break the feed, and insta CS a cast. Probably he won't expect that one, or even if he start expecting this, you can just play around it, like you purposely not pressing to CS. Same thing like when your pet doesn't in a CC, you don't need to press every single time and cool down your spell lock. The most important is to try to lock down enemy. You need to chill, you need to slow it down, don't need to rush to CS. You make sure you see it at the right time. Let's talk about rotation. First of all, you wanna press curse on a target. Mainly you wanna use curse of the elements because it reduces the resistance of every magic score and increase the magic damage taken also, which is really good for your burst and for overall damage. You can press against rogues sometimes Curse of Agony to not go in staff if they cannot dispel it, but mainly you wanna press either Curse of Elements or against casters you should put Curse of Tongues, because it's gonna increase their global CD, it's gonna increase their casting time, so it's really good and broken. You don't really want to curse of the weakness. In this expansion it doesn't really work. Then after you curse everybody, you wanna start spread corruption, cause remember, in your Glyphs you're gonna get the instant shadow bolt proc, you're gonna get from talent the molten core, it's all about RNG, and you're gonna get the feel of proc. You can put immolation on anybody. As you can see, I get the instant shadow proc. Right now I have really bad RNG and I didn't get any molten core, but sometimes you get molten crafter, it's all about RNG. So after this one you want it to spread, you wanna just as you can see I get every proc right now, one more proc, like I said it's super RNG. After you dodge somebody you can use Shadow Flame, your main damage gonna be Shadow Bolt, unless you get the Molten Core. If you get the Molten Core and if you get a set Decimation, you can do huge burst. If not, you can just cut Incinerate. But if you get Tunnel, you can just start fake casting. But even if you get Kick, let's say you get Immolation kick or they kick the Incineration, it doesn't matter, because you can cast Shadow Bolt. If you get Kick or Shadow Bolt, you can cast Incineration, or you can cast Fear. You can get Kick on Fear. You can cast anything else. So you don't really need. Not saying you don't need to fake cast, but it's not a big problem if you get Kick. This is your basic rotation. So basically, one more time, you wanna put every dots up. You wanna curse everybody. You wanna put dots up. You wanna put even Shadow Flame and cooldown if you can, and cast Shadow Bolt, and that's it. And when you get proc, you're gonna shoot what your proc have. If you have Soul Fire Pearl, you're gonna shoot Soul Fire. If you have Insta Shadow Bolt, you're gonna Insta Shadow Bolt. If you have more tank, you're gonna press Incineration or Soul Fire. That's it, nothing else. Okay, this section gonna be the most important, because this is your win condition. How to win a match. With your burst, obviously, but how to do it. Before I talk about the actual burst, let's talk about the setup. How do you set up? Usually, as a DemoLock, you wanna kill a healer. But if the healer knows that, and he gonna be a max range, you don't really need to push. You can just creep down the DPS also. So it's both good, but if you can, you should go for a healer. That's one important thing. The another one is how to actual setup is you wanna press fear, let's say on healer. For example, if you go healer, you wanna press 2 dot how you do the rotation. I'm gonna show it in a second. And then you either wanna cast if you can, but if you can't cast, basically you facing like Elemental Shaman Warrior. Warrior can put up like UA, can kick, Elemental Shaman can kick. You're wasting your damage. You wanna do every instant spell what you have. Which are they? You can Demonic Charge, you can use Shadow Flame, you can use Death Coil, you can use Shadow Burn, even you can use Shadow of Glyph. And you wanna maintain the CC chain. Your CC chain gonna be the best thing what can be is a Hodge after Death Coil after CS. But if you don't have a Paladin, don't worry. You can just Demonic Charge. I'm gonna show this one obviously right now. Then use Death Coil and then use CS. But how to actually do it, when actually you should do that, that's a rather better question. You need to have an add-on, unfortunately. Maybe you don't need to have, but it's gonna be so much easier if you have at least a Term event like I have, or Weak Aura, or any kind of add-on. I don't know, maybe there are some same add-ons like that one, I don't know. But you need to have an add-on where you can see your proc, because this gameplay gonna be all about proc. You need to insta Shadow Burn, you need Molten Core, you need the Decimation, you need a Trinket proc, your Tailoring proc, maybe your Ring proc, maybe this one as well. Okay, so how to burst, let me show you. Let's say you fear the healer. Alright, yeah, I guess that's gonna be probably the more common. Of course you can't fear dummy, but let's say I fear it. So I feared it. Actually, when you go arena, you should every time put some your pet to somebody to get the demonic pact. And now you're in arena and you gonna fear the healer. You're gonna put the 2 dot, and now you're gonna press the Metamorphosis and you're gonna press Immolation Aura into Demonic Charge, Shadow Flame, Death Coil, Shadow Burn, CS, and you, if you have any other instant, you can just press, or you can just cast it down. And Jesus Christ, yeah, this is a really huge damage. You wanna press the Metamorphosis when you have at least 2 proc out of 3, or maybe 4, let's say 3 if you play Tailoring, but you should play at least Tailoring. You need at least 2 proc. 1 Trinket plus 1 Tailoring, 2 Trinket proc, the best if you have everything. You can, I don't know which other is this one actually, but you can see when your Trinket and the Tailoring gonna go up, cooldown, and you should try to aim that one. If you have Hodge, obviously you don't need to Demonic Charge like I said, or if you don't wanna go healer, you just put your pet on a healer like we said in a Demonic Empowerment section. You're gonna annoy to Demonic Empowerment, CS, something, and so on. I'm gonna put some footage maybe into this video. I'm gonna link under the description. I don't know which one yet. To actually see how to do in the reality. And lastly, let's talk about some arena comms, tips, and tricks. Basically, as I mentioned, Holy Paladin maybe more than one time, or the hotspot at least, you should in 2v2 you should play with Holy Paladin, because you need the Hodge, I think, you need the Bob, maybe you need the Aura Mastery. Holy Paladin can provide you so many things. If you wanna play double DPS, I'm not sure which one is best. Maybe a Frost Mage can be good also, or you can just try a new comp out, but I recommend Holy Paladin. As for 3v3, to be honest, I was playing with Balance DemoLock because it was super fun. Maybe LSP would be better. For arena tips, basically what you wanna do is to waste time till you get back the Metamorphosis or win in one. Obviously that's the dream goal, but if you can't, and if you go higher rating, you probably won't win in one, but you can win easily in two. So you need to waste approximately 1.5 minutes. And how do you do that? You wanna, like I said, you wanna just press cursor tongues on casters, you wanna shadow frame, you wanna LOS, you wanna feel everything, even warrior forward berserker, reach and fulfill it. Your goal is gonna be to waste time. I know I saw that time wasting doesn't sound really fun, but obviously you can win outside the metamorphosis because you have good damage, you can do actual setups and so on. But in my experience, mainly you're gonna win when you have the form. You're gonna have a really huge burst. You're gonna force as much as you can without it, and then win the game. Also, it's a really good tip if you're using that add-on which shows you when your trinket's gonna go up or your proc gonna go up, then there's a maybe a 20 seconds cooldown delay, proc and metamorphosis cooldown delay, when you will get pro but you won't have metamorphosis. So there may be a time, if you can, if you want to min-max, obviously, but if you're playing for fun, then don't need to do that. But if you want to min-max, you actually don't do anything. There can be only spam fear, use sport, LOS, and then you want to use your dots when the metamorph is gonna came up. It's good since your filter is gonna be 20 seconds, you have plenty of time to burst. You don't need to rush, you don't need to actually do nothing for a long period of time, but you can maybe AFK out at 5 to 10 seconds. You can try this out. If you have any question which I didn't explain it very clearly, maybe you want to know more about it, just leave a comment, ask me, and I'm gonna help you. If nothing else, then thanks for watching, and hopefully we meet again.